Who is the main audience he needs to address tonight?
Well, obviously, this is the largest audience that he will address since the inauguration, and probably the largest audience for the next year until his State of the Union. So he really are speaking to the American people to then affect the congressmen and senators who will be sitting right in front of him. But you're really talking to the congressmen and senators, but more importantly, you're talking to the American people. And most importantly for President Trump, in my opinion, he's talking to his core supporters who are the base of the Republican Party, who are the ones who will move those congressmen. He is now getting to crunch time on getting things done in Congress. He's done just about everything he can do with executive orders. Now the real challenge for him and for the Republicans will be getting things out of Congress and signed by a president and enacted.
So, Bill, you named at least three constituencies there. One is who's in the chamber, the members.
Right.
Number two is the American people. Number three is his base. Those three are not necessarily the same. If you were advising President Trump right now, would you advise him to go for his base first?
Well, I think I would, to be very frank with you, because he's most comfortable there. And if you look at his inauguration, you look at all of his sort of action since, he has played to a relatively narrow base of the American electorate and or population, quite frankly. And if you look at the polls, which I don't think they pay much attention to, they look at who's staying with him and why, and who's he appealing to. And he's talked to those people in an aggressive way. My sense is he will do that again today, and that's the way he motivates his base to motivate then the Republican members of the Congress.
Okay, Bill, so if the main audience he's appealing to is his base, how does he measure success? What does he need to do to come away from that speech and saying, yes, I got it done with that base?
Well, I think he's got to be well received. I think the markets tomorrow, he'll be very clear on tax reform, regulatory reform, all the things that the market likes. And my guess is the market will respond positively tomorrow. But then begins the process again, David, of tax reform, which everyone knows is going to be tough. Talks about infrastructure and the spending, deficit spending probably. And why not? Democrats will like that very much because we fought 2 wars on a credit card, so we might as well put a rebuilding of America on a credit card. And I think Democrats will be very positive for that. I think the market, the economy, business community will like that. So there's a lot he can talk about that will stimulate optimism. But then you have to get into the details. And as the president said yesterday, rather shockingly, he found out that health care is very complex. Well, wait, he tries tax reform. And wait, he tries to cut 10% of the budget while raising the defense expenditures by 10%. Those are not easy things to do, and the president has just begun the process, quite frankly, with Congress of doing those things.
So, Bill, how can he deliver an affirmative message on tax reform when yesterday he also said he's going to have to deal with Obamacare first before he gets to tax reform? I mean, how is he going to avoid the morass, or really a morass, of healthcare reform so that he can get to tax reform?
Well, I think it is a morass, no question about it, because they've raised the bar for the last 6 years saying repeal, repeal, repeal. Well, it's pretty amazing no one thought about what would replace after the repeal. If they feel so confident of repealing it, just repeal it and let the 20, 30 million people be uninsured and see what happens to them politically. So I think you're right, David, in saying that this is much more complex, and the president's going to find out that he's going to have to wheel and deal, and he's going to have to do it with his allies, namely the Republicans, who have been on a jihad for the last 6 years, saying that Obamacare must be done away with without any thought given to what would replace it, in a serious thought to replacement, I should say.